Okay, our final writer for the night, R.G. Ziemer. As a longtime writer of prose and poetry, R.G. contributes regularly to local journals and likes to read at open mics. He works with several writing groups, especially enjoying the friends and contacts he's made through Waterline Writers. Thank you. He is currently seeking representation for his young adult novel, The Ghost of Jamie McVeigh. Born and bred on Chicago's South Side, R.G. has made his home in DuPage County for the last 30-some years. He presently lives on the west branch of the DuPage River in Warrenville with his wife Dawn, Mickey the cat, Abby the Australian shepherd, and Sparky the famous canoe dog. Besides writing and reading, he enjoys travel, hiking, canoeing, and kayaking. R.G. and Dawn have 2 grown sons who are also involved in their family construction business. In his spare time, he teaches composition at the College of DuPage. R.G., come on up here.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Ann and Kevin and Waterline for great opportunity for all us local writers. Many of you know I do like to write about my childhood and youth on the South Side. So that's kind of where I'm taking off from this time. A long time ago when we were just teenagers, my friend Billy Wise had a coin shop on 59th Street, and right next to a tavern and across the street from a hobby shop. And I've been trying to think of ways to work this this character into a story, but for now it's a poem called At the Hobby Shop. Old Joe peers through a yellow haze of cigarette smoke from behind the smudgy windows of the hobby shop. Wispy-haired and mushroom-faced, knobby elbows glued to the counter's cracked glass, his own gray skull nestles in his hands like a Halloween prop gathering greenish dust. The same pestilent fuzz collects on Lionel trains and coats the faded colors of plastic model kits, dollhouse bits, and slabs of balsa wood. From this neutral corner's torpid hush and perpetual murk, Joe gazes out, sees every bout on South 59th Street. At most, he mutters and paws his head. Boozers totter one by one, sizzled by the sidewalk's heat, swirled into the cool, deep blue of the Fairfield tap like dry leaves down a storm drain. Traffic slows and stops and starts. CTA buses, delivery vans, pickup trucks and beat-up cars, babushka biddies with shopping carts. The crazy lady from Washtenaw Street calls at the door, demanding meat. Today Joe's watching when across the way Maggie bursts through the stairwell door from the flat above the bar, hand held to the reddening ear that Bull Dugan boxed for talking back. Behind her scramble their brats, all 6, and last of all, in his undershirt, himself staggers out and curses the lot. Little Mickey, the oldest, rallies the kids to make a stand on the hobby shop's doorstep. Jeering, they scamper and pelt their dad with concrete chunks from the crumbling curb. In a rage, Dugan charges, his face aflame, his fists like hams. The boys scatter and scuttle in every direction, while Maggie backs up to the hobby shop door. Old Joe unfolds from his lookout stool and, quick as a cricket, hops to the floor. The jingling bell as he swings wide the door signals the end of the round. Thanks. This story appeared in Rivulets, the publication from Naperville Writers Group. Actually, talented Laura Knapp gave me a very nice introduction to it. This story, I guess, I offer as example, one more example if you need one, of why you shouldn't tell too much to your writer friends. Because I'm sure my friend Jeff has given a lot of thought to what he told us about what happened after he got his black eye, as I call it, the shiner. Joyce gives me a look. That sounds like trouble, Jeff. It's just a couple beers with the guys, I say. Cousin Beats had invited me for pizza and beer with some old high school buddies. What kind of trouble can an old bald guy like me get into? Now, all the way to the bar, the cooler was sliding around the back of the Jeep. So after I park, I open the back and fasten it down with the bungee cord. When I slam the hatch down, though, somehow I managed to get my head in the way. The lift gate conks me right in the noggin, right above my left eye. I see stars for a minute, but I shake my head and stagger into the bar. The guys see right away I'm oozing blood. For a few minutes, I'm the center of attention, with the barmaid dabbing at me with a wet towel and Beats passing me a beer. Here, hold this against it, he says. You just grazed it, says Eddie. Barely nicked it, says Bruce. You sure Joyce didn't smack you one, Joe kids? Everybody agrees. That's going to be some nice shiner. In a little while, the bleeding stops, and we get on with our pizza and beer, the laughs and the lies. Next morning, though, my eye has swollen up like a tennis ball. It looks like a globe of the earth sticking out of my face, black and blue, with all the colors of the continents and the 7 seas. You could trace the rivers of the world down the veins of my poor puffy eyeball. Nice shiner, says Joyce, usually a more sympathetic person. We're supposed to meet Donnie's girlfriend this weekend and have a civilized family dinner. Donnie is her nephew who lives in the city. And you look like you've been in a bar fight. Well, excuse me, I say. By Saturday afternoon, the eye actually looks worse, and with a pounding headache, I'm in no mood for a drive to the city, but it's a nice spring day, and I don't want to be a troublemaker. So I gas up the car, and we drive up to the north side. Donnie's an okay kid, grew up in Orland and all, but I'm afraid he's turned into some kind of yuppie. Took his mom's death benefit money and started up a record shop in Andersonville. Yeah, you heard right, vinyl. So apparently that's a thing now. We're supposed to meet him at his shop and all go to dinner at his girlfriend's place. I'm pleased to find a parking place right in front of the shop on Clark Street. The old brick building's in pretty good shape. Donnie's got bright blue lettering on the window glass, platters. Even as I back into the spot, I notice a tall, middle-aged guy in a brown leather jacket standing there. He's leaning stoop-shouldered against the blue door to the flat upstairs of the cleaners. He's got longish salt and pepper hair and a bushy mustache so black it must be dyed. As I turn the engine off, this guy squints at me through the passenger window, past Joyce, and I'm wondering, now what? He shakes his head and wags his finger at me, no. I look up ahead and back behind the car for a no parking sign or something. Meanwhile, Joyce opens her door, puts a leg out to the sidewalk, and looks back. Go on in, I tell her. I'll be there in a minute. She scrambles out and, completely ignoring the guy, goes into the store. Before the car door slams shut after her, this character steps up and catches it with his gnarly hand. Bending at the waist, he sticks his head in, but recoils a little at the sight of my face. Huh, he says. No parking here. Something makes me think he's a Greek. What, I say? There's no signs. Who says I can't park here? I say, he tells me and waggles his thumb. Keep moving. Who the hell are you, I say, not really asking, This looks like a legal parking spot. The guy shakes his head. There's no parking. Why is it no parking? There's a loading zone. What? There's no signs for a loading zone. Who says it's a loading zone? I say, he slams the car door shut. He makes shooing motions with both hands and leans back in the doorway again. Deep breaths, deep breaths. I glance out at the traffic on Clark Street. I open my door to get out. I shoot my biggest badass look as I walk past him toward the shop door. Arms across his chest and a sour expression on his face, he nods and says, "I have them tow you." That stops me. Now I'm wondering, is this guy connected or is he just blowing smoke? I look at him. Well, just do what you gotta do, right? "Yeah, you son of a bitch," he says, his voice going up and his finger pointing. "I have them tow you." "Look," I tell him, "if you're getting a delivery or something, okay. If the truck comes while I'm here, I'll move, okay? I'll keep an eye out." He gives me an evil grin. "Boy, you keep an eye out," he laughs. "Your eye already mostly out." I lunge at him. "Yeah, your eye's going to be looking out of your ass in a minute." He puffs up his chest. "Come on," he shouts. "Take a punch at me. I sue you for everything you got, you son of a bitch." I shake my fist, drawing closer. "You're not suing anybody if I pound you into a euro." "I'm calling the cops," he yawps and fumbles a phone from his pocket. "Call a frickin' ambulance," I yell, because that's what you're going to need. "Police," he yells. "Help, police." I look around, and as it happens, a large pear-shaped beat cop is actually strolling down the sidewalk across the street. He stops when he hears all the commotion. He sees two guys waving their arms about and yelling, and I'm sure it looks like a situation that could get out of hand at any second. The copper does the sensible thing. He calls for backup. The Greek gloats. "Now you see, you will be busted, and they will tow your car." I turn toward the cop just as he starts to cross over. One look at me and he turns pale, slowing in the street. Before I can say a word, he pats me on the shoulder, steers me by an elbow to the curb behind the Jeep. "All right, sir, all right," he says. "Settle down now, and we'll get you taken care of right away." "Tell him," the Greek is shouting. "Tell him it's no parking." The cop's vest radio crackles. He reports to dispatch. "I got a citizen down, injured with a head trauma." "Tow the son of a bitch," the Greek howls, approaching. "Hold it right there," the cop bellows and pulls his service revolver. I duck down behind the Jeep, covering my face. A squad car whoops up with lights flashing and screeches to a stop. As the cops leap out, first one, then the other looks at my face and does a double take. "There's no parking," I hear the Greek shout, but his voice is drowned out by an ambulance wailing down Clark Street. And Joyce and Donnie walk out of the store. Their jaws drop. Mars lights flash all over the neighborhood, reflecting off storefronts and strobing pedestrians. A considerable crowd has stumbled out of the local bars and restaurants. The jostling mob spills from the sidewalk into the street, and cops mill about, yelling and threatening. They got the Greek bent over the trunk of a squad car, his hands cuffed behind him. I'm on the curb with a paramedic leaning over me. He's running me through concussion protocols as if I was a Bears cornerback, and honestly, I'm eating it up. Joyce walks over, shaking her head. "I was only gone for a few minutes," she says. "Wow, Uncle Jeff," Donnie says. "That's some shiner."